right, now, welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the show. We got a good one for you today. We got Bonnie Brady joining us from the East Coast in a little bit. But first of all, I need to talk to you about what we talked about yesterday, and we're going to talk about it pretty much every single day until this meeting comes up on the 6th of November. On the 6th of November, they're going to have a Fish and Game Commission meeting discussion about the new proposals for the MPAs. Now, I got a picture from San Diego anglers, what the first proposal is, and this is absolutely incredible. And thank you, McCarty Yacht Sales, for sponsoring the show today and allowing us to talk about this very, very important piece of thing that's going to get shoved down our throats here, another MPA. I mean, like Frank Lopresti said and Michael Folk said and a lot of other people said, they're on a mission to stop us from fishing. Now, look at this. This is the new proposal right here. This just one part. There's like 9 parts to this proposal. This is one part of this proposal to shut down another huge piece of the California coastline to fishing with no science. Let me repeat that. No science from the last MLP that was put into over 15 years or almost 20 years ago now. There has been 0.000 science done on these MPAs. Do they work? Do they not work? Well, let's be perfectly honest. They do work if you want to devastate a fishery, if you want to devastate a kelp bed, if you want to devastate a marine habitat. They absolutely work, and they work flawlessly. They allow the sea urchins to just grow at a rapid rate and destroy the kelp beds. They allow the sea lions and harbor seals and otters and everything else just to live free and destroy habitat on a daily basis. Yeah, they work in that manner. But as far as restoring fishing or restoring marine life to what it existed like before people were here, let's be honest, you're never going to do that. You're not going to do that because there's 2 problems. Number one, urban runoff. That is the number one problem we have today on the California coast. And then number 2 is the California sea lion, which goes unchecked on a daily basis and creates massive amounts of havoc, massive amounts of devastation. And both of these things are not going to address. They're just not going to address. So the one thing that they can do is stop human beings from fishing. They've done it before, and they saw how easy it was because we were sleeping. Those of us in the sport fishing industry that own the landings and the sport boats, we were at the meetings. But you, the public, who I am talking to now, and I want all the public to be involved in this, and I want you to be at the meeting on the 6th, and I want you to pay attention to what's happening, and I want you to be a part of the process. We didn't have a voice last time around. We just kind of let it happen, and it happened. And the devastation to our industry is apparent. The devastation to our kelp beds is apparent. They're begging us now to bring sea urchin divers back into these kelp areas that they closed. And they're begging for someone to harvest the sea urchins to stop the sea urchins from eating the kelp holdfast. But really, they've done nothing to show us that the MLPs did anything to increase fishing or marine life in these areas. We know that if you do not fish in these areas with the rod and reel. Fish, there'll be more fish, there'll be more lobsters. But at a point, it's really not even worth it, because the amount of fish and the amount of lobsters that we harvest in these areas is a very, 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 very small amount compared to the fish that are left on the planet Earth. And these MLPs, gang, we don't need any more closures. We've protected our coastline to the max. There's no reason to protect it anymore. We, the people, the public, we have to be able to experience fishing. We have to be able to experience diving and gathering of lobsters. And we got to open up the abalone again too. Let's be perfectly honest. That needs to be opened up. That's been closed for a very long time with no science at all. Once again, there's no science in any of this stuff. It's just done on emotions. It's absolutely an emotional closure again this time around. And we need to be involved. I can't stress it enough. I can't stress that you need to be at that meeting on the 6th of November. Elliot and I will do our very best to make sure that everybody's aware as we get closer to November 6th that you need to be there. You need to see. I mean, look at this. Just for an example, this is just one area, gang. And this is a huge kelp bed off of San Diego. This is right at Point Loma. This is the giant kelp beds at Point Loma. This doesn't need to be closed. It doesn't need to be closed in any way, shape, or form. There's no reason for this. There's no shortage of fish there. I can't see any reason at all to close this area or any other area that is on the California coastline to fishing. And this is going to be probably one of the hardest things for, oh, there she is. Hold on a second. We got the lady joining us right now. Let me get this picture off of here for a minute. Yes.
Hello, Dave.
Welcome.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you just fine.
Marvelous. Here I am in my car in a parking lot in some nondescript place in East Hampton, live from the parking lot.
Yeah, well, I'm just happy that you're here because as you saw, and you posted this the other day, Gavin Newsom's going ahead with this thing, even though the whole world says no, he's going ahead with this thing.
Absolutely. Not only California, but several of the states are now in this crazy push internally to push through as many of the cabling situations. I'm going through this in New York right now. We have 2 separate transmission sets of cables that were supposed to be part of the wind farms. And now they're saying, oh no, we're just going to increase capacity. We just want to put this giant 345,000 volt cable through your backyard and your neighborhood and your school, but it has nothing to do with wind. And so they're really ginning up. In fact, Kathy Hochul just last week announced more money for renewable energy in general. They've got a Office of Renewable Energy Services that will basically take the place of the confidential hearings that are held on various transmission cabling. They were going to speed up that process. Every person from every state needs to look inward to their own state now, because if they were all in on wind before, they're still all in, but they're just trying to do as much of the ground game as they can now. So the next time it pops up, they can just push it through.
But out here in California, we have a governor that does not listen to the people. He doesn't listen to the people in any way, shape, or form.
I think we got a few of those running around, frankly. I think that's kind of a generic term for what we're dealing with on so many of these coastal communities. 10, 15 years ago, every person that was in elected office in New York wanted to come out, meet the fishermen, promote food, etc. And suddenly many of our supposed champions have gotten silent. We've got some county support, but and some limited congressional support that's been helpful, but on this issue, crickets.
Yeah, well, gang, I threw Bonnie in here real quick, right in the middle of my telling you about the MPAs. Let me just tell you a little bit, or let Bonnie tell you a little bit about herself before we get into this. I'm sorry, I just started right away, and most people don't even know who you are. So talk about yourself for just a
Um,
second.
okay, live from the parking lot. I'm Bonnie Brady. I'm the executive director of the Long Island Commercial Fishing Association. I have held this job since 2001. We promote commercial fishing and we educate the public as to what it is and what it isn't. The reason that I'm on the call today and was a few months ago is for the last 23 years I've been fighting offshore wind, first in state waters in 2003, and since then the huge blow up that really basically moved forward dramatically during the Obama administration through his national ocean policy. And so on the East Coast, where I spent most of my life, we have in the southern New England, the Rhode Island, Massachusetts wind energy area alone. For people that are familiar with where New York City is and might have kind of a cognizance of Rhode Island or New England, um, right southeast of Montauk by about, oh gosh, let me see if I can get this right, about 38 miles. We have 9 Massachusetts and 3 Rhode Island wind energy areas in federal waters that take up a large portion of where southern New England fishes. Of those total of 12 areas, we have one built project, which is the South Fork Wind Project. Those are, I believe, let me see if I can get this right, 8 megawatt turbines. Is that correct? Yes, or 8 or 9 megawatt turbines, a total of 132 megawatts nameplate, never what they produce, but nameplate. We have Revolution Wind, which they're actively pile driving right now, and we have that's 54 turbines, and we also have Sunrise Wind. That is the one that is much farther out with a cable that will be going for about 50 some miles, landing on Long Island. And that's the one that I mentioned to you before, that they already have it apparently on site, a high voltage direct current converter station using an open loop cooling system that will suck up to 7.8 million gallons of seawater up daily from the water column, inject bleach through electrolysis, and then release it as 90-degree effluent into the water column on Cox's Ledge, which is a known habitat area of particular concern, cod grounds. Can't make it up. Yeah.
It's really
I'm
hard.
sorry. It's like, what do you say after that?
Yeah, it's hard to fathom all of this and to think that this is going on right under our noses. And I thought that it's apparent we're going to go through this on the West Coast, but you guys are already going through this on the East Coast. And I grew up, and you did too, when whales and dolphins and sea lions mattered. And they
Right.
mattered more than anything. And everybody in the 60s and 70s was save the whales, save the whales. Now, apparently, because this is renewable, which is the farthest thing from
Yeah.
the truth, renewable energy, which
Exactly.
we know doesn't exist, and this is not the way to do it. But
No.
this allows them to kill X amount of whales, X amount of dolphins, X amount of sea life on a daily basis. It's just crazy to me that we're living in this world today.
You wouldn't believe it if you weren't living it. I mean, right. I'm 62. I'll be 63 soon. And no idea whatsoever that anything like this, I mean, it's preposterous. Now, remember though, Dave, they're not kills, they're
Right.
takes. And so if you permanently deafen a humpback whale on the East Coast, they're not endangered like I believe they are on the West Coast. If you permanently deafen, oh gosh, sorry, a if you permanently deafen a whale, a humpback, well, no, they'll still be okay. They'll just be deafened. And if you are in a letter of authorization for a 5-year construction period and you have a level A harassment, which is permanently deafening the whale, you can also have mild injury like lung, a mild soft tissue injury to the animal's lungs. or I mean, it's insane. You've got 220 decibels of sound in low frequency in, up to, I think it's 3 hertz or something like that, where they are pounding these giant steel monopiles that are with a a 4 or 5,000 kilojoule hammer into the ground, whether it's sand, whether it's cobble, whether it's bedrock. They're blasting away 60 to 70 hammers per minute. And they're doing that from first light all the way until I think it's an hour past sunset. And they're wondering why we might have an issue. It's really hard to believe. And the idea that it's green, yeah, if you honestly believe these projects are green, I have a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you, because nothing about them, the steel that is made to build them, requires coal, because it's a coke fired steel in order to get it to be that which it is. The blades, we already know this from Nantucket. For those of your viewers that don't, they can look up Vineyard Wind 1, where one of the, I think it was AW08 turbine, has 55-ton blades on it, 351 feet, more than the length of a football field. And one of them, for no apparent reason, on not too windy of a day, just folded over and blew apart, most of it going into the ocean. Except that happened on a Saturday, and they didn't even let Nantucket know, the town board and the residents, until Monday at around 5 o'clock. And that was only after a charter fisherman started taking photos of giant pieces of floating fiberglass in the ocean, going, "What the heck is that?" on Sunday afternoon. And that includes the fiberglass blades, 55 tons. They told residents on Tuesday morning, "Hey, it's July. Don't go on the beaches. If you do, make sure you wear shoes and don't bring your pets." And we found out they made these poor young lifeguards drag 250-pound slabs of fiberglass through the surf to clean it up, which is insane. What is it, 55 tons, the majority of it being resin that is made, depending on if it's pre-pregnated or, I forget the other term that they use, epichlorohydrin, which is a carcinogen, and BPA, which is a hormone disruptor. 55 tons per blade. Yep, that's really green. You just can't.
Yeah. You can't make this up. This is so sad to think that this is going on right now, and we're just getting started. This is just
Absolutely.
getting started, gang, and I wanna impress on everybody that's watching right now. Share this podcast with your friends, with your family. They won't believe it when they hear it, because you and I are sitting here trying to explain this to people, and I have regular people that watch the show all the time that are blown away right here with the comments that they're giving and everything. People, this
Right.
is absolutely real. It's happening every second of every day. And it's so scary, because I don't even want to talk about the devastation of the fish and all the other things that are happening, the clams, the oysters, the scallops. Every single thing is affected by this. But just, we and you talked about it last time, and I get so emotional, because my family has built their business on whales. We built our whole life on the
Right.
whales. Whale watching, Dana Point Harbor, whale capital of the world. My sister has done a phenomenal job promoting that. These whales, gang, you don't understand. The whales are so involved in sound, that sound is everything to a whale. Like,
Right.
you and I are emotionally drawn to each other with looks and all the other things that go on, but a whale, it's about the sound. It's all about sound.
Right.
And it's
Right, because the ocean's a dark place. And that's how, for feeding, for breeding, for communicating, for all of it. That's why some people actually have like records of humpback whale sounds from across the ocean. But yet suddenly, and I think I was interviewed once, and I was like, they're telling us to stop believing what we see with our own eyes and pretend that nothing has anything to do with it. Now, we did the numbers, because we had actually I think two whales of late, one that apparently was a propeller hit, but we don't know what happened to it obviously beforehand.
Yeah, why did it
And
run into
another
a
whale
propeller?
Yeah, right. Well, if you can't hear,
Yeah.
you never know. But the point was, this all started, if it wasn't for the massive amount of survey work, and when I'm talking about high resolution, uh, geophysical and geotechnical survey work, not the same for oil and gas, which you guys have on the West Coast, I gather, but because the arrays of air guns, they're not trying to go 3 or 5 or however many miles down on the ocean floor, but they are trying to go 900 feet to maybe 1,000 feet behind the ocean floor. Why? Because they got to pound these pieces of steel into the ocean floor. Or in California, they might go, because you guys have that 3 mile drop off, do floating. Great. So then we can then cantilever the cables so that, kind of like the June Taylor dancers, the whales can wash off, swim away with one of them following them. I mean, the survey work alone is in 3 different, the chirpers, the boomers, and the sparks, is in the frequency they hear in low frequency, in this exact, what's the word I'm looking for? The exact way that they hear. And so at one point, we had 21 different survey boats on the East Coast, from Massachusetts all the way down to Virginia. In theory, with that much sound, what travels best on water, guys? Oh, yeah. Sound. They're under the water. They're sending these pulses throughout this area. So it's one thing, perhaps, if you have a boat in one point, like here, doing some sounding. Great. The whales can go north, they can go south, they can go around, they can go away. But literally, we had from, let's say, Massachusetts all the way down to Virginia, back and forth, back and forth. If they were caught on one side of that sound wall, they had no place else to go. If they went too close, a lot of young humpbacks, young whales were affected. Why? Possibly because their hearing is better at that age. And there's done studies in this. Every single time when this started happening, when we had something like 8 or 12 whales with New York and New Jersey within like a month and a half, this started back in 2021, the end of December. We wrote a letter to then President Biden. We need a federal investigation. Now, why do we ask for a federal investigation? Because if you are part of a whale, one of the rescue networks for each state, you get a certain amount of money from the federal government. Hey, here's your 800 grand to go help you deal with, whales and dolphins and turtles, whatever. But level A, they have level B, and they have level A, B, and C for necropsies, which are, autopsies for marine mammals. Level A is basically a paperwork exercise. What beach are you on? What species is it? How long is it? Okay, and what's your name? Sign here. Level B is considered a partial, and you can do things like cut its belly open, see what's in it, take a tooth out trying to age it, things like that. Look for obvious signs of human interaction, not necessarily is that the reason it killed it, but is it there? The third is a much more, a full necropsy, which they take slides, they bring them back to, look at further. Level B and C, partial and full necropsies, are proprietary to the Stranding Center. So like in New York, we've got AMCs. AMCs has on its board at least 8 out of 12, or at least there were at least about 60% of their board last time I checked, had people on their board that either worked for the wind farm companies directly, or were the lobbyist for the wind farm company, or had a drone business that worked with wind farms, or is building all the on-land substations. So what are the chances that we would ever find out that information for them? But if there's a federal investigation, they have to release the information. And that's why we did it. And we got nothing, nowhere, zero. Yeah, we had about 160 to 70 dead whales in that period. And now they've started pile driving on Revolution. They stopped Empire for a while back in last April. Empire's right by the center of the New York Byte area. If you imagine New York City, and you might remember New Jersey on a map, right at that V, that's where Empire is, in between in between transit lanes and the direct path of 3 airports, that when you put a 885 to 985 foot tower and add 351 foot blades, you kind of have this thing called national security. You get radar scatter. You can't see with your marine radar. Guess what? some of the flight radar you can't see exactly either. That's why helicopters won't be able to go into the areas for search and rescue. And they actually, for Empire, they told them, hey, if NORAD contacts you, you have to be able to turn off the blades in like 2 minutes.
Yeah. Right. Hold on one second, Bonnie. Hold on. I got to show this commercial real quick. Todd Manser has a big announcement here. He's working with a new company here with Manser Marine and McCarty Yacht Sales. Go ahead, Elliot. Show that commercial.
Hey guys, Captain Todd Manser here from the McCarty Yacht Group. Guys, I'm super excited today to share the news that we are partnering up with Pacific Icon Yachts. This means that you guys will be able to see and purchase brands like Everglades, Invincible, Tesoro, Orion, and Pavati. How exciting is this? We're super excited to help you guys find the next boat of your dreams.
What happened? What happened? Oh, well, we tried to play it. So what I want to know, Bonnie, is what happened to, and I'll address your question, Joe, in just a minute, because Bonnie and I both know the answer to this, but what happened to Donald J. Trump ending wind farms?
Well, I know a lot of people that were really happy when we saw that presidential memorandum that went through, and that was a big help. I fully believe that he wants to stop them all. I don't doubt that for a minute. Somebody's running back and forth.
Yeah, my monkey.
That's your monkey.
That's okay. Marley.
That's right. But
he's sitting there now.
So he's enjoying the show. So I don't doubt for a minute. You know, I've been on radio stations. I've been involved in lots of conversations. I think part of the issue is the way that BOEM under the Biden administration kind of forced a lot of, either they changed the leases like 3 days before the inauguration or within a 3-week period right before the inauguration to make them more harder to break, or you've had other issues where BOEM, you know, I found for Empire in April after the memorandum was in effect that the Department of Transportation through what was it, their airport checking as far as in the height of the what they're allowed to use, they had submitted another plan that somebody had approved, which they weren't supposed to do. We are suing everybody. I'm on the board of Protect Our Coast, New Jersey. We are suing on the Empire Wind Plan because obviously they stopped it for a month back in April and we were all ecstatic. And then there might have been a deal cut that we don't know about. And I'm hoping to God it isn't the case, but I don't think it's going to go through anyway. And then they re-allowed it to open. That was the Nessie gas pipeline that they apparently was some sort of deal that was rumored to be between my governor, Governor Hochul, and President Trump. Don't know if it's the fact or not, but we sued saying, well, if you stopped it for one thing and then you just started it, why you have to have a rational basis for doing so, and that we believe under many laws that were broken by BOEM that this shouldn't go forward. But now with the government shutdown, we have to wait. Everybody is waiting, which allows them to keep cranking. Let's see. Long Island Commercial Fishing Association is sued on Vineyard Wind. We tried to get a writ of certiorari to the Supreme Court, but they didn't hear the case. We are, I believe, a part of the Revolution lawsuit, but I know Green Oceans is, and they got an initial stop on the Revolution Wind project, and then that judge who was from the Reagan era mentioned that it was somehow that the feds decided on that one they wanted to stop the project, and then they were sued by Ørsted, and the judge in the case gave them a 2-month extension before anything could be heard and allowed them to continue moving because in the judge's idea it was for the public good. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Just people that don't know, you know, there's a lot. I mean, you have to think about this. For the last 20 to 30 years, a lot of people have been indoctrinated that green energy is good. And it's, you know, very basic and simple and easy. And it'll be better for the environment and better for everyone. And we're all going to burn up in 8 years. So we have to do it. and they don't know they've been lied to. And kids are now, those are the kids from 30 years ago are now the ones gluing their hands to the ground, in the road because they're afraid they're going to die. And an entire generation of college kids have gone through being told that this is the right thing. So why would they believe this, unruly bunch of hooligans from the East Coast that are saying, oh, wait, no, here, read this. Oh, yeah, by the way, here, read this now, too. It's not what it appears. I just want to prevent it from becoming the Altamont of the sea.
Right. Well, the damage that's been done to the whales is irreversible. You cannot even think about. Forget about everything else.
Yeah.
Just the irreversible damage that's been done to the whales, which I'll stress this again, Bonnie. When you and I grew up, they mattered more than anybody. They mattered so much.
And the guys that were with Greenpeace that were in the boats, against the Japanese whaler ships, they were heroes. They had cojones made of steel and they were heroes. And it just didn't seem to matter. And it was just never, and you had people march out, oh, we have no definitive evidence. Well, sure, because you can't do it in federal investigation. And as long as you pretend you can't do that, then you're never going to get the definitive evidence. I mean, here are the people that supposedly trust the science, but yet they're unwilling to do an inquisition into it to determine whether the science is actually robust or if there anything else there that we don't know about. Because without looking at the necropsies, there's no way for us to ever know if they were affected.
Exactly. But as we both know, because we look at this through a different pair of glasses than most people, the whales, their whole everything about them is on sound. And I don't care.
Oh,
You affect the sound in the ocean, building these another word they love to use is windmills. And there's anything but a windmill.
Pretty little windmills. Yeah. No problem. Yeah, they're power plants. We're building industrial power plants in the ocean. Why? Because less people will see them. Less people will see the screwing up. And so out of sight, out of mind, but it's good for you. We promise. And 5 to 6 times more expensive. That doesn't even include the transmission costs. So just like in Europe, when they had the big still and the wind stopped blowing, and actually the wind has been blowing less over the last year, in many of those areas, they suddenly have their prices jacked to 10 times the cost. You've got the South Fork Wind Farm, which is the 132 megawatt project. It's only the month of July, August, and September. It worked 29% of its capacity, a total of 84,000 megawatt hours of power. But they sold it on average at $155 to $166 a megawatt hour, when the average cost of energy, at least in NYSO, which is the New York Independent Service Operators, I believe is somewhere between $26 to $32 per megawatt hour. Who can afford that? What will that do to small businesses that are in manufacturing? We've got a guy who's got a fish farm. He grows plate size striped bass for ethnic markets in the city. And, he's got lobsters, he's got all this stuff. And Bob, Dr. Valenti is part mad scientist, but in all the great ways. And so you can go in there and see him growing the algae and stuff that he's feeding. His bill is $3,000 a month. So what happens when it goes to 10 times? And any of our manufacturing base and consumers, people on fixed incomes and disabled and everyone. But meanwhile, and we get to destroy the ocean as an added benefit. And the guys that, if you're fishing with a line and you're chasing tuna and the tuna decides to wrap its line right around that, the turbine base, the monopile, oops, there it goes. Or God forbid your anchor gets caught on one of the 345,000 volt cables coming at you. That's going to be a really bad day.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I know it's so bad.
Because another thing people don't understand, Bonnie, is that you're coming at this from two different. You care about the world and the animals and the people, but then also your industry, your husband, your boats, the whole thing. Let's talk about that for a few minutes, because my family, we make our living taking people fishing and taking people whale watching. We have a
Right.
huge problem on the West Coast when they build this floating platform of windmills. They're putting it right where the tuna have since the beginning of time migrated to and had their babies, and the seabirds.
Right.
Let's talk about the
Right.
seabirds for a minute.
But don't worry, because when they did the wind energy areas on the East Coast side, they put them on all of our massive fishing grounds. So, but no, it has nothing to do with fishing, Dave. We promise. We just really want to, put you all out of business, and they will. I don't think I can share a picture. Oh, I can share a picture, but I'd have to get it first. And let me see if I can do it while I'm talking to you. I think I can. But the pictures of what it does to various, actually, can I send them to you? That would probably be the easiest way.
Yeah, you can send them to me right now, and I'll throw them up on the screen.
Yeah, I'll do that, because and then I can explain them once you've seen them, because it's criminal what they're doing. And for people, oh no, well, you'll be able to fish in them. Really? If on a foggy black fog day, and I know you guys had that in California because we get it here too. So you're out there and you can't really see much, but you can tell if the fish are down there, etc. But what's it going to do to safety? We had a guy, okay, I've got these 3. Let me send all 3 of these to you right now. And one sec. Which number is yours, Dave?
949-374.
Okay.
0786.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to find this one 9 right now. 949-374.
Yeah. 0786.
374-0786.
Yes.
Oh, Captain Dave. That's why I couldn't find you right away. Okay, so there you go. That should be all 3 that I just sent you.
All right.
Yep, there they are. I can go through them individually. It's super.
Yep, I'm going to get them up on the screen here in a second.
And anyone that's been on the water for less than a second would know that this is a really bad day when you've got fog or a storm or anything else, and you fish in that area, because they told us there's no problem. You're going to be able to fish there. No problems whatsoever, except this thing called line of sight and radar. And when things are in front of you in your line of sight with your radar, they show reflections. Unfortunately, no amount of gain is fixing the gain is going to fix this situation. The first one, the one that looks most like the spirograph, that is from the Thanet wind farm in Thanet, England. Those are 2 megawatt turbines, and there was a group of from the Fisheries Survival Fund that went to Thanet, England back in, I want to say 2020. I can send you the link if you want to put it up on your website. It's a nice little 14-minute movie where they interviewed fishermen. Hey, what's going on? What's this? And they went out on one of these 10-meter gillnet cod boats. They drift gillnet for cod. And they always went to this area, and now they can only go through it if they can see through it. Most of them don't. There you go. And
that was the only picture that came through.
Oh, okay. Well, the others should shortly, because they all went through. It looks like on my end. If not, I'll send them separately again.
I'll explain to everybody what you're looking at.
Okay, so normally when you look at radar, you would see a series of dots, depending upon what you're looking at, that would tell you if there's another boat in front of you. In the center circle, which you really can't see very well there, but in the center circle there is where the boat is located. And depending upon the concentric rings, it can be larger distances. It can be a half mile, a mile, further than that. So that when you're moving forward on your boat, and I'm sorry, I'm not really though I can drive the boat, I'm not exactly the well-versed mariner like my husband is. But so you're heading to your favorite fishing spot, and you're in the center of that. And instead of seeing a dot representing a boat, you see this glob. You basically see these giant concentric circles, which you're not supposed to see. If there's something in front of you, you should see it as a dot. As it moves closer, you'll be able to see it. If it goes farther away, depending on what you have for your point of contact, you'll have to increase or decrease to determine if it goes farther or it's coming closer. because the turbines, and maybe I should send you this picture, that way it'll make it even more understandable. See if this one works for you here. Here, I'll just do this right now.
There's another picture.
Okay, there's a picture I just sent you just now. They might
Okay.
take a while of the boat. Did you get that
Yeah,
one?
I got them. I'm going to download them right now.
Okay. So now fishermen have two choices. They're not going to put a drift gill net in that area because they've got all these turbines there, and they just wind up wrapping around the turbine, and then they lose their gear. They might, if they have to go, what they do is go past that area now because, oh, shockingly, the cod are no longer there because they have huge sediment plumes 24 hours a day based on current that go, they're up to 500 feet wide behind each turbine, and they are up to 5 kilometers long. And so the cod, shockingly, don't like sand in their gills. Wow, who knew, huh? So they have to go around them in order to fish. The second picture, and I don't know which ones you're looking at. Oh, here we go. This picture here is, and can you slide that and make that a little bit, enter the full screen? Can you make it a little bit bigger? Because you'll see the actual 5 turbines that exist. But when you go and you pull out on that picture, you'll see that actually there's a bunch of different scatter of other lines of 5 that are actually false scatter and ghost scatter that's coming from the turbines because they reflect the movement.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get these other pictures up while you're talking here.
Okay. And then we have the third one, which I'm sure you'll put up in a minute, which is my husband's own boat. He was heading home from fishing south of the Vineyard Wind Project. And as you will be able to see, I drew a line just so people could understand which were the actual real turbines and which were false targets. And you'll be able to see all of these areas. They're supposed to be dots. They're not. In some cases, they're elongated lines. In some cases, those are things that aren't even there.
Right.
So my husband now has to travel through 3 separate wind energy areas. He does not, oh, there it is. So all of that on the left, that's all false targets. All that on at the 9 o'clock hour, those are all false targets. They don't exist. And the mishmash of maybe a dot here and there and elongated lines, show me, like, pin the tail on the donkey where the turbine actually is. Good luck.
Right.
So he is the only one that now can take the wheel because, as we know from coal rigs, a prudent mariner has to keep the crew safe. He's not going to put in an experienced guy up there who doesn't know what he's seeing, and especially if the weather is crap and it's raining or snowing or, you know, whatever, or black fog. You're not going to do it. He now spends an additional up to 7 hours steaming around wind turbines. That was the picture of the Thanet boat right there. You can see right by the guy's wheel are the actual part of the, right there, part of that like spirograph. And right to the left of his life-saving buoy, you see, is one of the turbines itself. And you can see them right behind the front. Yep, there you go.
Unbelievable.
So let's just play this one out. Okay, so you're fishing and it's black fog, and then you get rope in the wheel. Oh, what happens then? Well, unfortunately, you know, Murphy's Law. And so then you call the Coast Guard and go, I'm in this, you know, it's blowing 30, we've got 12-foot seas, and I just got rope in my wheel and I can't steer. And I'm heading toward the wind turbine. And they'll be like, oh, okay, great, but we can't send the Coast Guard out because it's considered a hazard. We know for a fact because I FOIA'd the Coast Guard review of the fishing vessel Mistress that went down, I believe it was in 2019 or 2020, just south of Block Island Wind Farm. Oscar and his crew were coming back from a scallop trip. They had a wooden boat, and they started to take on water in the fish hold. And so Oscar was fishing with his, I believe, his son and his nephew. I think that's correct, or it could be his nephew and another guy. And sent the guy who was the nephew up to the top to start getting the life raft off the boat. and he'd gotten them in Gumby suits, and Oscar was doing a Mayday, and all of a sudden the boat turned and flipped, and the guy that was up top got thrown farther enough from the boat that he didn't go with the boat. The other two that were in the boat stayed with the boat. The boat sunk. A guy that was racing there, another commercial guy, raced to go get whoever was there, found this guy. This guy, the first guy that got thrown, he was all by himself in a Gumby suit. He had no raft, he had nothing. 10 minutes later, out of nowhere, I mean, everyone that you talk about remembers this storm, because it went from 20 mile an hour winds to like 60 mile an hour winds out of nowhere, like the house shaking type of thing. 10 minutes in the storm, all of a sudden the raft comes up like right next to him. The hydrostatic release went off, boom. He was able to crawl into the raft, and then about 30 minutes later, the first commercial boat was able to find him. They sent an MH-60 Jayhawk from Cape Cod to go look for this guy. They got there, and I've got the notes, I've got the whole report. It said there was, the sea conditions was 1 to 300 feet visibility. Wind gusts, I think it was about 20. And seas were about 10, 15, something like that. They've got this, Coast Guard has this red, green, blue. When they go to get somebody, they look at the whole model and like, okay, what are the chances that we'll be able to help them? Was it an orange? Is it a red? Like, it's chancy anyway, but green, the chance of actually getting to rescue someone. These guys were initially a green. They got there and they mentioned that, visibility was poor, which it usually is when this stuff goes down. And there was a hazard in the area, and the only hazard they mentioned were wind turbines. Because think about it, you can't see, you're in a crap storm, it is dark out, you have to use your radar. If you go to use your radar and you see lines instead of dots, or more than one set of 5 dots, you have to get, your radar are your eyes. And so they said that there was hazards in the area, and I couldn't find out. I tried to FOIA the conversations in the actual cockpit because they saved those, but apparently right after that time period, they write over them, and I didn't go fast enough. But, they said, they came back because of visibility, and they asked, hey, can we go to Block Island and stay there and then wait for it to get better and then go out? And they were told, no, because, the helicopter, there could be a part broken or something, and you could be stuck on Block Island. It took them 30 or 45 minutes to get there. Yeah. So yeah, it's a bad scenario. If you are used to the ocean being one part your mistress and one part your she's really, these things can make it extremely dangerous. So what do you do?
Yeah, we're changing the whole landscape of the ocean. We are changing everything. Right. You don't know it because you don't see it because it's offshore. Believe me, it's a real thing. And right. Dan Smith, he's on here right now. He's a commercial fisherman, tuna for years and years and years. Could you imagine, Dan, we're going to be dealing with it here on the West Coast. We're going to be dealing with it. Can you imagine someone's coming to save you and your crew and they can't find you because there's too many windmills? Oh my God. And they're not windmills, let's be honest. These things are giant towers with these giant
power plants,
giant blades on them. And I can't even imagine, gang. There's not even, when time is super valuable and you got minutes before you go under, to try to find you with all these windmills out there, you can't even comprehend what it's like. I can't. Right. I can't. And I spent most of my life on the ocean. I can't even imagine looking at the radar and seeing that, Bonnie.
No, I mean, it's, oh, no. And we were lied to for years. Oh, fix the gain. So then what happened in 2021 or 2022, National Academy of Sciences, we had asked that they look into it. Sure enough, they admitted, yes, it will cause reflection. It will cause issues. And they talked about, there's no solution right now. Super. But meanwhile, ready, shoot, aim. Oh, well, we could have something in the future, using holographic, or, if you have a giant 450-foot boat and it's high enough up, maybe you could figure out a way to make it work. Really? Well, gee, when it's high, bad seas and they're out with their construction boats, guess what? They don't stay out there. They go back to port. How nice.
Right. And the area that they're thinking of are the area that they've already leased to these companies on the Pacific Ocean, up off of Morro Bay, above Morro Bay, up to San Francisco.
Right.
That area doesn't have a bottom. So we're going to attach these cables to these floating platforms that it's 4,000 feet deep.
Yeah, and each chain is about the size of a Volkswagen bus. Yeah, that's going to be great for the bottom, just crushing everything in its sight. I mean, for when you know from drag, you have an anchor, you know what happens with drag. So, yeah, in fact, there's a video. I'll try to find it for you. Let me just make a note to myself. There's a video of Jason Joyce, who's a lobsterman up in Maine, when he went to the State House of Maine, because they too are all be smitten. They're all smitten with floating wind, and he's like, do you understand the amount of chain that will be required for one of these things and what that would do to the structure in the bottom? Of course, no one did, and he described it very well. I'll try to find that for you, because this is created by engineers and foreign government-owned energy companies and private equity funders, not by people that spend their life on the water. And we've got people that are involved now from National Marine Fisheries Service. They've jumped to become wind developer leads because they're making 6 times the money, or at least 3 times the money. And they don't live on the ocean. My husband fishes almost 300 days a year. He's on the water more than he's on land. But yet, no matter what these guys say,
it's gospel.
It's just been ignored. It's been completely ignored from the actual masters of their own universe, which is out there. And, I used to joke with, because we always get hit by ENGO nonsense occasionally. And I used to joke, let me just have, Ron Arnold used to speak about the Gang of 10, which was Pew and Packard and Moore Foundation and all of that when you're talking about MPAs. And my own thought was, if the Gang of 10, Rockefeller, Cerdna, all of them, take the heads of every single one, put them on a boat. They can put them on my husband's boat, 70-foot boat. Take them 50 miles offshore. They don't even have to catch fish. They just need to bring the boat back. Let's see how well they do, huh?
Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, this is that letter you sent me.
Tunnel. Yes. Well, no, that's the right. You're looking at that now, right?
Yeah, I finally got it up on the screen.
And right. That Southeast New England reported helo unable to conduct search due to high winds, low visibility hazards, windmills, and low ceiling. Helo is returning to base. I spoke to a guy off the record who was a Coast Guard helo captain. I sent him this document, and he was like, and because this is from the final typed out report, not the written notes, which are also, I have the whole thing. And he was like, what are you talking about? 1 to 300. If we're lucky if we get 300 feet visibility, that's the normal conditions that we work in. So this idea that, we know what the real hazard was, and yet they are doing this. And when the Obama administration created National Ocean Policy and their regional councils on the ocean, the only form of energy they supported was offshore wind. And conveniently, it was all on the areas that we fished. To a man, it was all, not one site was where people didn't fish. But I'm sure it was no coincidence.
No, it's just so sad, and
it's mind-boggling, and it's criminal. Honestly, it's criminal.
And
these people know it will not work.
On the East Coast, though, you guys have so many people involved in fighting this. On the West Coast, we don't have anybody. We're the only people here talking about it.
Well, I know I went out, not last year, but maybe the year before maybe last year. I met the guys at Morro Bay, and I spoke. React Alliance is a group in California that I know has been fighting pretty heavily. I'm not sure whether that's near it's south of Humboldt, but there was one area that they were fighting, before the BESS blew up on them, which is another part of these things. They don't just give you turbines out in the ocean. They bring the giant cables in, and then they tell you, we're going to store the energy in a battery energy storage system. Except, oh, they might blow up. And if they do blow up, if you add water, they explode. And oh, by the way, hydrogen fluoride gas becomes hydrofluoric acid when you add water. And talk to the people in Morro Bay about that. You know, this is about tax credits, and it's almost kind of like subsidizing foreign governments, because let's face it, they're giving these tax credits to the government of Norway and the government of Denmark and whomever else. I mean, you know, I think what was it? The EDF is the one that's the French energy site. And private equity. I mean, everybody's been in. Jamie Dimon at Citibank, and you know, what is it? Blackstone bought in through Global Infrastructure Partners, you know, because they don't have enough to deal with, right? Because why? Because that's where the money is. That's where they're making this giant money. And that's all they care about. So if everything costs more and they're the ones that sell you the energy, it's perfect.
Yay! We're all gonna make a bunch of money. Yay! Gosh,
We're going to destroy everything that we hold dear to our hearts, but we're going to make a lot of money. And we'll bankrupt the middle class, and we'll, you know, put people that are below the middle class being forced to choose between heating or eating. Great. Super. It's criminal.
And then what about?
I hope this administration follows through. I mean, I know Secretary Kennedy has spoken about it. Secretary Burgum has. Secretary Wright. I think the right people are there to make those decisions, but right now we're being caught up with, you know, some judges, and the shutdown isn't helping. But I want to believe, because I don't have another choice, that we can beat them and we can make them go away and take these things, because as I've explained clearly, it doesn't stop when you stop the lease. If those things are built, they have to be pulled out, because it's not just our radar security as fishermen. It's national defense and national security. It's the reason why Sweden pulled 13 offshore wind farms, because it reduced their reaction time from 2 minutes to 60 seconds. Same thing for us. The exact same thing. And they knew that, and they went ahead with it anyway during the Biden administration, during the Obama administration. And that is criminal. We don't need another 9/11. We've already had one. We're good. You know, they were worried about drones flying around New Jersey. Okay, let's pack one of these drones the size of a Volkswagen bus with as much C4 as we can and send it in through the wind turbines. No one will know until it's too late. It's crazy. I'm sorry. It's so crazy.
At every
people are like, wait a minute, who is she? Chicken Little? What is she talking about?
No, it's true. I remember when they were having the drone problem and nobody could figure out who they were or what they were coming from, but they were flying them in through the wind turbines that are already there, and they don't understand this.
They didn't start building them yet. They were flying them around the area, because at one point there was a talk, oh, it's a jet, it's some foreign country that's doing some studies, and then I guess they figured out it was us that was doing something. But the reality is, if you can't see through them, oops. If you're a plane and you're on your descent, oops. They've already got some problems with the FAA. They don't need more. So I would appeal, if anybody's watching, I'd appeal to Secretary Duffy, Secretary Kennedy, Secretary Burgum, Secretary Wright, and the president, and J.D. Vance, the vice president. Call me. We need your help. How's that?
Absolutely.
And anybody else, I don't really care what side of the aisle you're from, because anyone that's an American should care about what we're doing before we destroy ourselves. And in the name of something that is a lie from the very beginning.
And one thing you just skipped over real quick, but I think it's kind of important, and you have the fire chief on your page, and he's talking about he's talking about this that's coming up right now, that's coming down the pipe, this storage facility right next to a school.
Right.
Oh
within
my God.
a mile of the school, the lithium-ion battery energy storage sites, the systems, which are ridiculously dangerous, and they don't even work. We have one in East Hampton. It's already cooked twice. The first time, the thing with those is it's a 5 megawatt facility. it cooked, and they were talking about evacuating everyone within a mile radius. And then it was able to maintain its misting water to keep it cool for 3 or 4 days at a cost of maybe about 2 million gallons of water. Oh, wait, we have no containment traps for that water. So after all those chemicals go through there, guess where it goes, boys and girls? But don't worry, because our Department of Environmental Conservation waited a month before they checked the soil. Those systems, the 5 megawatt system works for 4 hours, and then it takes 48 hours to recharge, no matter what the energy source. So this idea that somehow the wind energy electrons are going to magically only go to the lithium ion battery, complete falsehood. And I don't know, but last time I checked, we have blackouts for more than 4 hours.
Absolutely.
Then what?
It's crazy.
I can give you some stuff on that. You can put it on your page. Just let me get through the weekend and I will send those things to you, because it's been a little hectic around here lately.
Oh, absolutely. And then we won't even talk about the birds because they're
Well, we can talk next time, because I've got maps of how the piping plover migrations offshore. They refuse to listen. My husband has taken pictures 20 miles offshore, huge swaths of birds moving. The passerines, which are the songbirds, which are the ones that are going to eat it the most, or the raptors that hunt at night. It's the blooming onion of bad. We can take it layer by layer.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time. I really, really appreciate learning all about this stuff from you. Every time you're on the show, I learn a ton. Thank you so much. And a lot of my viewers, thank you very much. They have a ton of kind things to say to you.
Well, thank you very much. And I will send you that information so you can put it up there. And then I have no problem. Like, there's so many different components of this. And unless people take the time to really listen and read and research, unfortunately, you can't believe certain sites that are put up there for reasons that are to promote this form of energy, as opposed to tell the truth about this form of energy.
And all the people that claim to care about these animals, gang, we won't mention any names because I don't want to get sued, but follow the money, gang.
There's a lot of grant money out there.
Yes.
Let's put it this way.
Follow the
They
money.
throw bags of cash to grants here, there, and suddenly there's a huge case of amnesia.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't care. They care about money. All right, gang. Thank you very much, Bonnie, for your time. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Elliot, thanks for producing a hell of a show. And, gang, we'll see you tomorrow morning with the fish report and what's going on the water. And thank you very much, Bonnie.
Thank you guys so much. Have a great day. Thank you.